The massive arena stretched across the sky like a metal moon. Ships from 100 different worlds circled around it, their lights blinking in the darkness of space. Inside, thousands of aliens filled the seats, their voices creating a sound like thunder. Today was the day when the strongest warriors in the galaxy would fight to prove their worth. Princess Kaylee walked through the golden entrance with her head held high. She stood 8 feet tall, her purple skin gleaming under the bright lights. Her muscles moved like steel cables under her armor, and twin plasma blades hung at her sides. Behind her, 12 royal guards followed in perfect formation. Every species in the arena turned to look. The Drathian princess had never lost a fight. Not once in 10 years. In the lower seats, far from the royal boxes, a small group of humans sat quietly. There were only 5 of them, wearing simple gray uniforms that looked plain compared to the colorful clothes of other species. One was a woman named Yuna, her black hair tied back in a neat style. Next to her sat a broad man called Day, his arms crossed over his chest, and beside him, looking almost bored, sat Quan Taiyang. Taiyang watched the arena floor with calm eyes. He was not tall for a human, and among the giants and monsters of other species, he looked very small. His face showed no emotion as fighter after fighter entered the ring below. A creature with 4 arms defeated a robot warrior. A being made of living crystal shattered the weapons of an insect soldier. The crowd cheered and screamed with each victory. Princess Kaylee stood in her royal box, watching the fights with barely hidden contempt. Her advisor, an old Drathian with scars across his face, leaned close to speak. "The humans arrive tomorrow for the treaty signing, Your Highness," he said softly. Kaylee laughed, a harsh sound. "Humans? Those weak creatures want to join the Galactic Council? They can barely survive their own planet." "They passed the initial test, Princess. The Council has granted them provisional membership." "A mistake," Kaylee said coldly. "They have no strength, no honor in combat. They are soft." Her eyes scanned the crowd and stopped on the small group of humans. She could see them clearly from her position. They looked so fragile, so breakable. An idea formed in her mind, and a cruel smile crossed her face. "Computer," she commanded, "announce that Princess Kaylee challenges any human present to single combat. Let them prove they deserve their place among us." The arena's speakers crackled to life. Her words echoed through the massive space. The crowd fell silent, then burst into laughter. Humans fighting a Drathian princess. It was like asking a child to fight a dragon. In the lower seats, Yuna sighed. "She didn't." Day smiled slightly. "She did." Taeyang said nothing. He simply stood up and began walking toward the stairs that led to the arena floor. Yuna grabbed his arm. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "We can refuse. Say it's beneath our dignity." Taeyang looked at her with gentle eyes. "If we refuse, they will always see us as weak. Sometimes you must show strength to earn respect." "At least let me go," Day said, starting to stand. Taeyang shook his head. "You have a family waiting at home, my friend. Sit. Watch. This won't take long." He walked down the steps with steady movements. The crowd watched him descend, their laughter growing louder. He looked so small, so ordinary. His uniform had no medals, no marks of rank. He carried no weapons. Some aliens pointed at him, making jokes in their strange languages. Princess Kaylee watched him approach with growing amusement. This was almost too easy. She would defeat this human in seconds, and the Council would see that his species had no place among the warriors of the galaxy. She jumped from her royal box, landing on the arena floor with a boom that shook the ground. The crowd roared its approval. Taeyang reached the arena floor and walked calmly to the center. He stopped 10 feet from the princess and bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. Kaylee sneered down at him. "You are the one they send? Where is your armor? Your weapons." "I need none, Your Highness," Taeyang said simply. His voice was quiet but clear. The princess laughed again. "You are either very brave or very stupid, human. I am Princess Kaylee of the Drathian Empire. I have defeated champions from 50 worlds. I have killed warriors 3 times your size, and you stand before me with nothing?" "I have everything I need," Taeyang replied. Kaylee's eyes narrowed. She did not like his calm tone. It was as if he did not understand the danger he faced. She decided to make this quick and brutal, to teach all humans a lesson about knowing their place. "The rules are simple," she announced loudly for the crowd. "First to yield or fall unconscious loses. I promise you, human, you won't last a minute against me." Taeyang simply nodded. "As you say, Your Highness." The Galactic Overseer, a floating creature of pure energy, appeared above the arena. Its voice boomed across the space. "The challenge is accepted. Combatants, take your positions. The match will begin in 30 seconds. Kaylee drew her twin plasma blades. They ignited with a hiss, glowing with deadly purple light. She took a fighting stance that had been perfected over 1,000 years of Drathian military tradition. Every muscle in her body tensed, ready to strike. Taeyang stood relaxed, his hands clasped loosely behind his back. He looked almost like he was waiting for a bus rather than facing a deadly warrior. His eyes stayed on Kaylee, but his expression showed no fear. No tension, nothing at all. The crowd leaned forward. Betting pools flashed across screens throughout the arena. The odds were 10,000 to 1 in favor of the princess. Some aliens bet on how fast she would win. 5 seconds? 3? Would the human even have time to scream? In the human section, Yuna and Dee sat perfectly still. Their faces showed no worry. In fact, if anyone looked closely, they might see the hint of smiles on their lips. The Overseer's voice counted down. 10 seconds, 9, 8. Kaylee's muscles bunched, ready to explode into motion. 3, 2, 1. A bell rang clear and bright. "Begin!" Princess Kaylee launched herself forward like a purple lightning bolt, her blades singing through the air. The human stood there calmly, waiting. The crowd held its breath. The match had begun. The princess moved faster than most creatures could see. Her first blade came down in an arc that would have split Taeyang from shoulder to hip, but when the plasma blade cut through the air, he was not there anymore. He had shifted slightly to the left, barely moving his feet. The blade missed him by inches. Kaylee did not pause. Her training took over instantly. She spun, bringing her second blade around in a horizontal slash. Again, Taeyang moved with minimal effort. He bent backward slightly, and the deadly weapon passed over his chest. The crowd gasped. The princess attacked again and again. She used techniques that had defeated the best warriors in the galaxy. Her blades moved in patterns that seemed impossible, attacking from multiple angles at once: strike, spin, thrust, sweep. Each movement flowed into the next with perfect grace. It was beautiful and terrifying to watch, but Taeyang avoided every single attack. He moved like water flowing around rocks. His feet took small, precise steps. His body swayed and shifted with movements so subtle they almost looked lazy. His hands remained clasped behind his back. He never struck back. He never even tried to block. He simply was not where the blades landed. After 20 seconds, the crowd's laughter had stopped. An eerie silence fell over the arena. This was not what anyone expected to see. The human should be dead by now. He should be cut into pieces on the arena floor. Instead, he looked completely calm, almost bored. Kaylee's breathing grew heavier. Sweat began to form on her purple skin. She increased her speed, attacking even faster. Her blades became a blur of purple light. She used every trick she knew, every fake attack, every combination that had never failed her before. Taeyang dodged them all. At 30 seconds, the princess began to feel something she had not felt in years: frustration. Every instinct she had told her where to strike, but the human was never there. It was like fighting smoke. She could see him, but she could not touch him. Taeyang's expression never changed. He watched her with calm, studying eyes. Occasionally, he would tilt his head slightly, as if considering something interesting. This made Kaylee even more angry. At 40 seconds, she decided to use her ultimate technique. It was a Drathian secret move, taught only to royalty. She spun both blades in opposite circles, creating a whirlwind of plasma energy. Then she thrust forward, the blades moving so fast they seemed to fill all the space in front of her. There was no way to dodge this attack. It covered too much area. The human would have to try to block, and plasma would cut through his soft flesh like it was nothing. Taeyang stepped forward, toward the attack. The crowd gasped again. Was the human insane? He was walking into certain death. But at the last possible moment, Taeyang's body moved in a way that seemed to defy physics. He twisted, slipped between the two blades in the tiny gap where they crossed, and emerged on the other side completely untouched. He was now standing behind the princess. Kaylee spun around, shock on her face for the first time. How had he done that? Even her teachers had said that move was unavoidable. The large screen above the arena showed the time. 50 seconds had passed. Taeyang stood there calmly, still with his hands behind his back. He had not even broken a sweat. His breathing was completely normal. He looked like he had just finished a pleasant walk. The princess was breathing hard now. Her arms ached from swinging her heavy blades at full speed. Her muscles, strong as they were, felt the strain of constant maximum effort, and she had not landed a single hit. Around the arena, aliens looked at each other in confusion. Some began whispering. The betting screens flickered as people tried to change their bets, but the system had frozen. No one knew what to make of this. In the human section, Day leaned over to Yuna. "He is going easy on her." "Of course he is," Yuna replied quietly. "If he wanted to end this, it would already be over." A young human sitting behind them, a technician named Hyun, watched with wide eyes. "I have seen Commander Taeyang train. This is not even 10% of his real speed." Back on the arena floor, the timer hit 55 seconds. Only 5 seconds remained until the minute mark, until the time the princess had mocked him about. Kaylee attacked again, putting every ounce of her royal strength into her strikes. She screamed with effort, her blades cutting the air with sounds like thunder. The ground shook with her powerful movements. Dust rose around them both. Taeyang continued to dodge, his movements still minimal and controlled. He seemed to flow through the storm of attacks like a leaf on the wind. His face showed the slightest hint of concentration now, as if he was finally paying a bit more attention. 58 seconds. The princess aimed both blades at his head, committing everything to a double strike that left her completely open. If he dodged, she would be vulnerable. But this attack was too fast, too powerful. He had to be hit. 59 seconds. Taeyang ducked under both blades. As they passed over his head, he finally moved his hands from behind his back. In a motion almost too fast to see, he reached up and gently tapped the hilts of both weapons. 60 seconds. The timer reached 1 minute exactly. Both plasma blades flew from the princess's hands. They spun through the air and stuck into the ground 20 feet away, their glow fading as the safety systems deactivated them. Kaylee stood there, frozen in shock, her empty hands still in the position of holding weapons that were no longer there. The arena was completely silent. Not a single creature made a sound. Everyone stared at the impossible scene before them. Taeyang walked over to where one of the plasma blades had landed. He pulled it from the ground carefully, studying it for a moment. Then he walked back to the princess and held it out to her, handle first. His expression was polite, respectful. "Your blade, Your Highness," he said softly. Kaylee looked at the weapon, then at his face, then back at the weapon. Her mind struggled to process what had just happened. He had disarmed her, with a gentle tap, After dodging everything she threw at him for a full minute, and now he was returning her weapon to her like a servant returning a dropped item to royalty. Her hands trembled as she took the blade, not from fear, but from the sudden understanding that crashed over her like a wave. This was not an ordinary human. This was not even an ordinary warrior. This was something entirely different, something she had never encountered before. "You lasted a minute," she said quietly, her voice shaking. "You said. I said." "You said I would not last a minute," Taeyang replied gently. "The minute has passed. I am still here." The crowd remained silent. Then, slowly, a single alien began to clap. Then another. Then more. Soon the entire arena was filled with the sound of thousands of creatures applauding and cheering. They had just witnessed something they had never seen before. A human, the weakest species they knew, had made Princess Kaylee look helpless. Kaylee's pride burned in her chest. She could not lose like this. Not in front of everyone, not after she had mocked him so publicly. She raised her blade again, ignoring the ache in her arms. "Fight me properly," she demanded. "Stop dodging like a coward. Face me warrior to warrior." Taeyang looked at her for a long moment. His calm eyes seemed to see right through her, to understand everything she felt. Then he nodded slowly. "If you insist, Your Highness," he said. His voice was still quiet and respectful. But something had changed. His stance shifted slightly, his eyes focused in a way they had not before. Suddenly, despite his small size and plain clothes, he looked very, very dangerous. The crowd leaned forward again. The match was not over. It was just beginning. The Galactic Overseer watched the scene below with interest. Something unusual was happening, and as the neutral judge of the arena, it wanted to know more. Its energy form pulsed as it accessed the arena's central computer. "Scan the human combatant," it commanded. "Display basic credentials." The computer responded instantly. Information began appearing on screens throughout the arena. Most aliens could not read human languages, but the computer translated automatically. What they saw made them stop and stare. Name, Quan Taeyang. Age, 32 standard years. Rank, Commander, Earth Defense Corps. Service, 14 years. Combat deployments, classified, training certifications, 47 different combat systems. Special notes, Level 7 security clearance required for full file access. A Vrexian merchant in the upper seats turned to his companion. "What does Level 7 clearance mean?" His friend, who had dealt with humans before, went pale. "It means his real information is kept secret even from most human governments. It means he is very, very important." On the arena floor, Princess Kaylee saw the information appear on the screens. Her eyes widened as she read the words. 47 combat systems? She had trained in only 12. And what did classified deployments mean? The Overseer decided the crowd deserved to know more. It accessed human databases, requesting basic, non-classified information. Slowly, more details appeared. Quan Taeyang had grown up in a city called Busan on planet Earth. From a young age, he had studied martial arts, learning from masters who taught ancient fighting techniques. When he turned 18, he joined Earth's military forces. His test scores were the highest ever recorded. He was selected for special training, but the most interesting information came from a single incident known as the Outer Rim Event. 3 years ago, a colony ship carrying 5,000 humans had been traveling to a new settlement world. They were unarmed civilians, families with children, moving to start a new life. Pirate ships had detected them and moved to attack. The colony ship sent out a distress call. The only Earth military vessel close enough to help was a small scout ship. It carried a crew of 1, Commander Quan Taeyang. The pirates had 3 warships, each 10 times larger than his small scout vessel. They had better weapons, better shields, better everything. The smart choice would have been to wait for backup, but the colony ship would be destroyed in hours, long before help could arrive. Taiyang did not wait. He attacked all 3 pirate ships alone. The battle lasted 72 hours. The computer did not have clearance to show how he won, but the results were clear. All 3 pirate ships were destroyed or disabled. The colony ship survived with 0 casualties. Taiyang's scout vessel was so damaged it could barely fly, but he had held the line until reinforcements arrived. The human government gave him their highest medal. Then they made most of the details classified, because they did not want enemies to know what one human could do with determination and skill. In the arena, the crowd read these facts with growing amazement. The aliens began to understand. This was not just any human. This was a legend among his own people. Kaylee felt ice form in her stomach. She had challenged Earth's military hero to single combat. She had mocked him in front of thousands. She had said he would not last a minute, and he had proven her completely wrong. But it was too late to take back her words now. All she could do was fight with everything she had and hope to preserve some dignity in defeat. The overseer's voice boomed across the arena. Additional information. Commander Taiyang is currently assigned to Earth's diplomatic corps. His role is to serve as a cultural liaison and security advisor. He has never been defeated in single combat. Yuna, watching from the stands, smiled slightly. The overseer did not have access to the whole truth. Yes, Taiyang had never been defeated. But that was only part of the story. The real truth was that Taiyang was not special because he was the best human fighter. He was special because there were hundreds like him. Earth had a secret that other species did not understand. Humans came from a death world. Their planet tried to kill them every day with storms, diseases, predators, and 1,000 other dangers. To survive, humans had to become strong, not just in body, but in mind and spirit. Other species had evolved on peaceful worlds. They grew strong naturally, given powerful bodies by their genetics. But humans had weak bodies. So they learned to make up for weakness with skill, intelligence, and endless determination. A human child learned to walk by falling down hundreds of times. They learned to persist through failure. A human athlete trained for years to achieve what other species gained naturally. They learned patience and discipline. A human soldier faced death and kept fighting anyway. They learned courage. This was humanity's secret strength. They did not give up. They did not quit. They adapted, learned, and overcame any challenge. And Taiyang represented the peak of this human trait. Back on the arena floor, Kaylee charged at Taiyang again. This time, he did not simply dodge. He moved to meet her attack. When her blade came down, his hand shot out and caught her wrist. His grip was like iron. She tried to pull away but could not move. He twisted slightly, and suddenly she was off balance. Her own momentum worked against her. She stumbled and he released her wrist, letting her catch herself before she fell. It was a gentle move, almost kind. He could have thrown her to the ground, but he chose not to. "Your technique is strong," he said quietly as they circled each other. "But you rely too much on raw power. You attack the same way every time." Kaylee's eyes blazed with anger and shame. "Do not lecture me. Human!" "I am trying to help," Taiyang replied calmly. "You are a skilled warrior, princess. You could be even better." He waited for her next attack with patient eyes. In the stands, Day shook his head slightly. "He is doing it again," Day muttered. "He cannot just win. He has to teach." Hyun, the young technician, leaned forward. "Is that why they sent him on this mission?" Yuna nodded. "Commander Taiyang has many talents, but his greatest gift is his patience. He understands that making allies is better than making enemies. Even in combat, he looks for ways to build bridges." "But the princess challenged us," Hyun said, confused. "She insulted humanity." "She did," Yuna agreed. and if Taeyang simply destroyed her, other species would fear us but not respect us. By teaching her while fighting her, he shows that we are strong but also wise, that we can be trusted. On the arena floor, Kaylee attacked again. This time, Taeyang caught her blade with his bare hand. The plasma energy should have burned his flesh instantly. But somehow he held it without harm, his hand moving with the blade's vibration frequency to avoid the cutting edge. He pushed the blade aside gently and stepped close. His other hand touched her chest armor, right over her heart. It was a soft touch, barely any pressure. But the meaning was clear. If he had wanted to, he could have struck a killing blow. "You expose your center line with every attack," he said softly, so only she could hear. "Your power is your weakness. You depend on it so much that you forget to protect yourself." Kaylee stepped back, her mind reeling. He was right. She knew he was right. Every master who had ever trained her had said the same thing, but she had always been strong enough to win anyway. Against this human, strength was not enough. The princess made a decision. She straightened up and lowered her blades slightly. "What would you have me do differently?" Around the arena, aliens gasped. Was the princess asking the human for advice in the middle of their fight? Taeyang smiled for the first time, a gentle expression. "May I show you?" Kaylee nodded slowly. And so, in front of thousands of watching eyes, the human began to teach the Drathian princess how to truly fight. Taeyang moved to the center of the arena floor and gestured for Kaylee to attack again. She hesitated for a moment, then charged forward with her blade raised high. It was the same overhead strike she had used before, the one that had failed. This time, Taeyang did not just dodge. As the blade came down, he stepped to the side and caught her arm again. But instead of simply stopping her, he guided her motion, showing her how her own momentum left her exposed. "See?" he said, his voice carrying across the silent arena. "When you put all your strength into one attack, you cannot defend yourself. A skilled opponent will use your power against you." He released her and stepped back. The crowd watched in fascination. This was not a normal fight anymore. This was becoming a lesson, and everyone wanted to learn. Kaylee attacked again, trying a side slash this time. Taeyang moved with fluid grace, his body bending in a way that seemed impossible. The blade passed over him as he dropped low, then swept her legs with a gentle kick. She stumbled but did not fall. "Your stance is too rigid," he explained as she recovered. "You plant your feet to generate power, but this makes you slow to react. Watch." He demonstrated, showing her a different way to stand. His feet were always moving slightly, never completely still. "We call this floating feet. You're always ready to move in any direction. Power comes from the hip rotation, not from planting yourself." The princess tried to copy his stance. It felt strange, unnatural. Her Drathian combat training had always taught her to be solid as a mountain, but she was beginning to understand that the human way was different. Humans did not try to be mountains. They tried to be water. "Attack me again," Taeyang said, "but this time, think about balance, not power." Kaylee thrust forward with her blade. Taeyang redirected it with just 2 fingers. Barely touching the weapon, the blade slid past him harmlessly. "Good," he said with approval. "You kept your center balance that time. You could have recovered faster if I had counterattacked. Try again." For the next several minutes, the strangest combat demonstration in galactic history took place. The princess would attack, and Taeyang would counter while explaining what he was doing. He showed her techniques from different human martial arts, explaining the purpose of each one. When she tried to grab him, he demonstrated a move from a martial art called Aikido. He used her own grip against her, spinning her in a circle until she released him voluntarily. "This is about leverage," he explained. "Your joints bend in certain ways. If I apply pressure correctly, your own body forces you to let go. Size and strength do not matter. When she tried to kick him, he showed her a technique from Taekyon, a traditional Korean martial art. He redirected her leg with a circular motion, making her spin past him. This is about timing and angles, he said. I do not fight your strength. I guide it where I want it to go. When she tried to grapple with him, he demonstrated principles from a martial art called Sistema. He seemed to become soft and flowing, impossible to hold. Yet whenever he touched her, she felt her balance disappear. This is about relaxation, he explained. Tension makes you slow and predictable. When you relax, you can feel what your opponent will do before they do it. The crowd watched in complete silence, absorbed in the lesson. Many warriors in the audience were taking mental notes. Some were recording the demonstration to study later. They were seeing things they had never imagined before. Kaylee's advisors in the royal box looked stunned. One of them, an old general named Corvin, leaned forward with intense interest. He fights like water, wind, and shadow all at once, Corvin muttered. I have never seen such control. Between demonstrations, Taeyang spoke to both Kaylee and the watching crowd. His voice was calm and clear. Humans learned to fight not because we were strong, but because we were weak, he explained. Every creature on our world could kill us easily. The big predators had claws and teeth. The small ones had poison. The plants had thorns. Even the weather could destroy us. So we learned to think, to adapt, to use skill instead of strength. He gestured to Kaylee. Your people evolved to be powerful warriors. This is a great gift, but it also became a limitation. You never needed to learn these other ways because you were already strong enough. The princess listened carefully, her breathing heavy from exertion. Her armor was dented in several places from where Taeyang had struck pressure points. Her regeneration ability was working constantly, but he kept targeting the same spots, preventing her from fully healing. You train to defeat opponents, Taeyang continued, demonstrating a joint lock on her arm. We train to survive impossibility. There is a difference. He released her arm gently and stepped back. One more time. Attack me with everything you have, but remember what you have learned. Balance over power, timing over speed, understanding over force. Kaylee took a deep breath. Her body ached. Her pride was in pieces. But strangely, she felt more alive than she had in years. This human had shown her that she still had so much to learn. It was humbling and exciting at the same time. She attacked one final time, using every technique Taeyang had shown her. She kept her center balanced. She did not overcommit to any single strike. She moved with more fluidity than before. It was the best fighting she had ever done. But it was not enough. Taeyang flowed through her attacks like smoke through a screen. Each time she struck, he was already moving to the next position. He touched her at key points, gentle taps that disrupted her rhythm without causing real harm. And slowly, carefully, he guided her to the edge of the arena floor. Finally, with one last redirection, he positioned her so that one more step backward would take her out of bounds. Then he stopped and bowed respectfully. You fight with great spirit, Your Highness, he said. You have learned quickly. In time, you could master these techniques. Kaylee looked down at her feet, seeing how close she was to the edge. She looked at Taeyang, who stood relaxed and calm, barely breathing hard. She looked up at the crowd, at the thousands of aliens watching in complete silence. She had lost, completely and totally, but somehow it did not feel like a defeat. It felt like the beginning of something new. Slowly, deliberately, Princess Kaylee took one step backward. Her foot crossed the boundary line. The arena's sensors detected it immediately, and a tone sounded. The overseer's voice echoed through the space. Princess Kaylee has stepped out of bounds. By the rules of combat, Commander Quan Taeyang is the victor. The crowd erupted into cheers, louder than before. But they were not cheering for Tai Yang's victory alone. They were cheering for what they had just witnessed, a demonstration of skill and wisdom that transcended simple combat. Kaylee dropped to one knee and placed her fist over her heart, the traditional Drathian gesture of respect for a superior warrior. Around the arena, other Drathians in the crowd did the same. It was a sign that rarely given, only to those who had truly earned it. Tai Yang stepped forward and offered his hand to help her stand. After a moment of surprise, she took it. His grip was firm, but gentle. "Thank you for the lesson, Commander," she said quietly. "I have learned more in this fight than in years of training. And I learned that the princess of the Drathian Empire has the heart of a true warrior," Tai Yang replied. "One who can set pride aside to grow stronger. That is rare and valuable." The crowd's cheers grew even louder. In the human section, Yuna stood and applauded with the others. Beside her, Day smiled broadly. "Well done," Day said softly. "He won without making an enemy. Now that is true victory." Hyun looked confused. "But the princess insulted us. She said we were weak." Yuna shook her head. "And now she knows we are not. More importantly, she respects us. Respect built on understanding lasts much longer than respect built on fear." On the arena floor, Tai Yang and Kaylee walked together toward the exit. They spoke quietly. The princess asking questions about human combat techniques. The warrior and the princess, enemies a moment ago, now talking as colleagues. The galaxy was about to learn an important lesson about humanity. They were not just survivors. They were teachers, bridge builders, and allies worth having. The medical bay beneath the arena was quiet and clean. Princess Kaylee sat on an examination table while a medical robot treated her injuries. The dents in her armor had been removed and her bruised muscles were being healed with advanced technology, but the bruises to her pride would take longer to fade. The door opened, and General Corvin entered, followed by 3 other Drathian advisors. They all wore serious expressions. Kaylee straightened up, expecting criticism for her loss. Instead, Corvin knelt before her, his fist over his heart. "Your Highness," he said with deep respect, "you have brought honor to our people today." Kaylee stared at him in confusion. "How? I lost. I was defeated by a human in front of the entire galaxy." The old general shook his head. "You did something more important than winning. You recognized a superior warrior and learned from him. You set aside pride for wisdom. That is the mark of a true leader." One of the other advisors spoke up. "The arena recordings are already spreading across 1,000 worlds. Every species is watching what happened. They see that humans are not weak. More importantly, they see that our princess has the strength to learn even in defeat." Kaylee thought about this for a long moment. Then she smiled slightly. "Commander Tai Yang is an unusual warrior. He could have humiliated me, but instead he taught me." "Why?" "That," said Corvin, "is what we need to understand about humans." Several hours later, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from all member species gathered in the Great Council chamber, a vast room that floated in the void of space. Each species sat in their designated area, their translators converting all speech into forms they could understand. The council leader, an ancient being called the Keeper, addressed the assembly. Its voice resonated through everyone's mind. "We have witnessed something unprecedented today. A human, a species we considered minor, has defeated one of our greatest warriors. This changes our understanding. The human delegation has requested to address the council. They will be heard." Yuna walked to the center platform, flanked by Dai and Tai Yang. She looked small in the massive chamber, but her voice was clear and strong when she spoke. "Honored council members," she began, "today Princess Kaylee challenged humanity to prove our worth. Commander Tai Yang accepted that challenge and won. But victory is not why we requested this audience. She paused, letting her words sink in. We want to address a misunderstanding. Many of you believe that Commander Tai Yang is our greatest warrior, our most powerful fighter. This is not accurate. Confused murmurs spread through the council. If Tai Yang was not their best, then who was? Yuna smiled slightly. Commander Tai Yang is one of hundreds of warriors like him. He is special, not because he is the strongest, but because he is the most patient teacher. We sent him on this diplomatic mission because we knew that eventually someone would challenge us. We wanted that challenge to result in understanding, not hatred. She gestured to Tai Yang, who stood calmly with his hands clasped. Humans come from a world that tried to kill us every day. We did not evolve to be powerful. We evolved to be adaptable, persistent, and clever. We learned that the best victory is one where everyone benefits. A representative from the Vrexian trade union spoke up. But your commander defeated a Drathian princess easily. If he is not your strongest, then your strongest warriors must be terrifying. Perhaps, Yuna acknowledged, but you missed the point. Our strength is not in individual warriors. It is in our ability to teach, to share, to lift others up with us. Commander Tai Yang did not just defeat the princess, he showed her new ways to fight, new ways to think. That is the human way. Another representative from a species called the Kalathi stood. Are you saying that humans would teach their combat techniques to other species? Why would you give away such advantages? Day stepped forward to answer this question. Because strength shared is strength multiplied. If we keep our knowledge secret, we stay strong but alone. If we share it, we build allies. We create a galaxy where everyone is stronger together. The council chamber fell silent as the delegates considered these words. It was a completely different philosophy from what most species practiced. Usually, the strong dominated the weak. Power was hoarded, not shared. But humans were proposing something else entirely. The Keeper's mental voice spoke again. This is a bold claim. Can you prove it? Yuna nodded. Princess Kaylee has requested permission to visit Earth. She wishes to study with our martial arts masters. We have agreed. If other species wish to send students as well, we will welcome them. Let us show you what humanity can offer the galaxy. The council debated for hours. Some species were excited by the possibility. Others were suspicious, thinking it might be a trick. But in the end, the council reached a decision. Humanity's provisional membership would be elevated to full status. More than that, Earth would be designated as a neutral training ground where any species could send warriors to learn. The Galactic Council would fund the program, and humans would administer it. It was unprecedented. A newcomer species, less than a century into space travel, had just been given one of the most important roles in galactic society. Later that evening, Tai Yang stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars. The arena was behind him now, a glowing structure in the distance. He heard footsteps and turned to see Princess Kaylee approaching. "Commander," she said, bowing slightly. "May I join you?" "Of course, Your Highness." They stood together in comfortable silence for a moment, watching ships move through the darkness. "I owe you an apology," Kaylee said finally. "I insulted your species. I mocked you. I said you would not last a minute." Tai Yang shook his head. "You gave me an opportunity, Princess. Because of your challenge, the galaxy now knows that humans belong here. For that, I thank you." "You are generous," she said with a small smile. "More generous than I deserve. Tell me honestly, Commander, how quickly could you have defeated me if you had tried from the beginning?" Tai Yang was quiet for a moment, considering. 5 seconds, he admitted. Maybe less. Kaylee laughed, a sound without bitterness. "I suspected as much. The way you moved, it was like you were playing with a child. That should make me angry, but instead, I am grateful. You showed me how much I still have to learn." "Everyone has more to learn," Taeyang said. "That is what makes life interesting. I learned from you today as well." "From me?" Kaylee looked surprised. "What could you possibly learn from me?" "I learned that Drathian warriors have incredible determination. Even when you knew you could not win, you kept trying. You adapted to new techniques faster than anyone I have trained before. That is a rare gift." The princess felt warmth spread through her chest. It was genuine praise, not empty flattery. "I am coming to Earth in 3 weeks. Will you teach me yourself?" "It would be my honor," Taeyang replied. "But I warn you, real training is much harder than what you experienced today. You will fail many times. You will be frustrated. There will be days when you want to quit." Kaylee's eyes gleamed with determination. "I am a Drathian princess. We do not quit." "Then you will do well," Taeyang said with a smile. "Humans do not quit either. We will get along perfectly." Over the following weeks, the galaxy watched with interest as the first students arrived on Earth. Princess Kaylee was joined by warriors from a dozen different species. They came to learn from humans. These strange creatures who had turned weakness into strength. The training was brutal. Human martial arts masters showed no mercy, pushing their alien students to their limits. Many were shocked at how difficult it was. They had expected to learn some tricks, some simple techniques. Instead, they found themselves learning entirely new ways of thinking. But slowly, they began to change. They learned patience. They learned to use timing instead of strength. They learned that intelligence could defeat raw power. And most importantly, they learned that there was always more to discover, always room to grow. Back on the observation deck that first night, Kaylee asked one final question. "Commander, your diplomat said that your strength is not in individual warriors, but in your ability to teach, but there must be limits. What if a species learns from you and then turns against you? What if we use your techniques to attack Earth?" Taeyang looked at her with calm eyes. "Then we will teach you something else. Humans have survived for thousands of years not by being the strongest, but by being the most adaptable. Every time we face a new challenge, we evolve to overcome it. That is our true power." He turned back to the stars. "Besides, any species that trains with us will come to understand us. They will see that we prefer cooperation to conflict. They will become friends, not enemies. That is the real lesson we hope to teach." Kaylee thought about his words for a long time. Finally, she understood. Humans were not just teaching combat techniques. They were teaching a philosophy, a way of thinking about strength and community. "Your species is very wise," she said softly. "No," Taeyang replied. "We just learned from our mistakes. We fought each other for thousands of years before we learned that working together made us all stronger. Now we want to share that lesson with the galaxy." He smiled at her. "Welcome to the human way, Princess. I think you will like it." As the two warriors stood together, looking out at the infinite stars, a new era was beginning. Humanity had proven they belonged among the great species of the galaxy. But more than that, they had shown that true strength was not about domination or fear. It was about lifting others up, about sharing wisdom, about building a future where everyone could thrive. Princess Kaylee had challenged a human, expecting an easy victory. Instead, she found a teacher, a philosophy, and a new path forward. And in doing so, she had helped humanity take its place not as conquerors, but as the galaxy's bridge builders and teachers. The princess had sneered that he would not last a minute. She had been wrong about everything, and somehow that was the best thing that could have happened.